Hi, and welcome to Constructionism 101, a basic introduction to the theory of constructionism. Tell me and I will forget. Show me and I may remember. Involve me and I will understand. This is a 2.5 millennium old quote from Confucius, and constructionism goes back very far as a practice. As an idea, though, it's probably more recent. This is Mitch Resnick in 1996. People don't get ideas, they make them. Practice of constructionism goes back millennium, but the theory and using it actively in teaching is fairly recent. It goes back to about the 60s, about 69. Mitch Resnick is one of the people currently working on it quite heavily. Constructionism. It's basically using tools, nuts and bolts, and hammers, and theories and ideas in your own mind to create things that you want to create, and your learning happenings as a result of that. You have an idea, you make it, and you learn how to make it along the way. It's student-centered, not teacher-centered, and it's very active. It's learning by doing, creating, and inventing. What is it? Let's take a look at the short answer first before we dive into the theory. The short answer is that it's learning by making, by inventing, by doing, and creating. And these are really, really key ideas. And the person who does the making, inventing, and doing, and creating, well, it's not the teacher, it's the student. The student learns by making, by inventing, by doing and creating the things that they want to make. And that can be anything. It can be, for example, they can create a theory about something. They can create a car. They can make a book or a song. They can create a roller coaster out of wooden tracks, like in the School of Tinkering. They can create a computer program to make games with, or music or pictures. It doesn't really matter what they do. It can be a survey or a questionnaire. In constructionism, students build and create, investigate, experiment themselves, and that's the key part. It's not what they do, it's who does it. It's them themselves. They learn by building things, by creating, by investigating, and by experimenting. And the teacher is not in the driving seat of learning anymore. The teacher isn't the person who decides on the map of learning. And the teacher isn't the person who decides that there's one path to learning, because there's not a single path in constructionism. There are as many paths as there are students. And there's no driving seat anymore, as a matter of fact, because everybody is learning. And there's no set destination point either, because students get to create and invent as they want to. The teacher in constructionism is a co-learner. They're not instructing people, they're not passing on or transmitting information. They're following students along a journey of constructing and making that these students have decided on. They're coaching, they're helping, sure, but they're sitting on a seat in the bus, and they're following along, and they're helping, and they're guiding, and they're supporting. Constructionism is a theory of learning. It's not a theory of teaching, and it aims to solve the problems teachers have by making learning better. It focuses on the students' experience of learning and their enthusiasm and getting them engaged by making and creating. It doesn't teach you to transmit information in a better way. It teaches you to engage learning and learners in a fuller and more holistic way. This is the guy who came up with it, Seymour Papert. He's an MIT professor still. He's a mathematician. He studied child development with Jean Piaget in the 1930s, I think it was, which was hugely influential. He's a constructivist. He's hugely influenced by education as a tool for allowing people to reach their full economic, personal, and social potentials. And this may not be a true likeness of Professor Papert, but it's this person who's the founder of constructionism as a school of pedagogy. And all those ideas, mathematics and passion and education and fulfillment of potential, are key to understanding constructionism. They're all at the heart of constructionism as the pedagogy. And they're all achieved by focusing on the student and not on the teacher. Papert is also a founder of the MIT Media Lab. And quoting Seymour, knowledge is built by the learner, not supplied by the teacher. Through a process of experimentation, tinkering, play, creation, innovation and invention, the student builds their own understanding of the world and of the subject at hand. Seymour was motivated by this one question: how do we make maths something people would love to learn? Because they don't. People don't love to learn maths. This was his experience. He was a maths graduate. And he thought this was a key idea. Making maths something that people would love to learn is probably key to making maths something that is well taught, easily taught, and that people actually want to sit down and do. His experience of students was that they were bored, or maybe that students didn't really care about what was happening, or really didn't understand what was happening in maths class. There was a lack of motivation, and teachers got frustrated as a response to that, and unenthusiastic, unengaged students being taught by angry teachers was not a good mix. And one day he was watching an art class, and students were using soap to create sculptures out of it. They were using soap and palette knives, and they were sitting down to make things that they wanted to make in this art class. And he watched them for a while on his way to teach an art class, and they made these beautiful sculptures, and they were focused, and they were reflective and enthusiastic, and they wanted to be there, and they were thinking about things they had done well and things they had done badly, and how they were learning their skills, and how to do things better, and this focus and this reflection and this enthusiasm was something that he really wanted his math students to have. And suddenly that was it. That was the beginning of Constructionism. Watching this art class and watching students create the things they wanted to make, he had his light bulb moment, and he realized that adults use maths to make things all of the time, and they make cool stuff with maths, and so should kids. Adults use maths to make cool stuff all the time. Of course, so should kids, just like they do in art class. So you get them to be focused and engaged and enthusiastic and reflective. We use maths to do all sorts of things. We use it to build bridges. We use it to look at the universe through telescopes. We use it to understand data, to look at evidence for theories. We use maths as a tool to do things in the world that we want to do. We use it to make roller coasters. What's cooler than that? We should teach maths like we teach art. And learning by making was born. Hooray! Or rather, learning by creating was born. And this is a different thing. When you make something, it can be just something that you want to make, or that somebody else wants you to make. When you create, it's your own vision, like in their art class. And this is key, that learners have to make things that they want to make. They have to create the things that they are interested in, that they're invested in, that have meaning to them. And that's how you get that enthusiasm and focus and that self-reflection. It's not learning by making. It's really learning by creating. It's learning by inventing. And key to this is to really want to learn, you have to create. Because you're only really invested in learning when you are creating the things that you want to make yourself. When you have an idea, and then you go on and bring that idea to fruition, and that idea has meaning for you. You want to make it, you want to create it. And to learn, you have to want to learn. And this is where that creation aspect comes in. We only really want to learn the things that enable us to achieve things in life. And this can't be centrally planned for. This can't be in a curriculum document. The thing that you want to learn is the thing that you want to learn. It's not something that you're told to learn, or that you think other people think you have to learn. Here's 5 core points to Constructionism. Yay! Theory! Everybody loves theory. People learn best when learning is important to them and when they want to learn. Learning is for a purpose, and most people have a particular purpose in mind. They want to change their world, their environment, they want to rearrange things, they want to achieve, they want avenues, they want opportunities. But that learning happens when it's things that are important to them, and they are the best decider for what's important. 2, kids make sense of the world actively, not passively, by doing things, by experimenting, by making. And so constructivism focuses on people making things, creating things, experimenting, having failures and having successes, and learning themselves. The teacher is in the background, and people are playing with test tubes and having explosions and being curious about things and setting fire to things maybe, and things are successful or they're a failure, and there's surprise and there's enthusiasm. And that's when learning happens, when you make sense of your world actively by getting to grips with it, by struggling with it, by making the thing that you want to learn about yourself. 3, kids build on what they already know. So there will be some teaching in Constructionism. You can't, for example, assume that children are going to get to grips with a whole new topic with no introduction. For example, if you wanted to teach somebody how to read and write and do the alphabet, you'll of course have to teach them the basics. And if you want to teach somebody to weld, you'll of course have to teach them the basics. And it's going to pick up a welding stick and learn how to do it themselves. Learning is social and collaborative. It's shared, argued over, and negotiated. So constructivist learning involves other people. We argue and we encounter different worldviews or different perspectives, and we learn through that. We negotiate and we learn through that. We share our ideas, our experiences, our knowledges, and we learn through that. But it's usually and typically something that's collaborated on. It's teamwork. It's people working on projects together. It's people sharing ideas. It's arguing. Because that's how we learn. And 5, learning is unique to the learner. Each person is different. They have a different history. They have different goals and ambitions. They have different knowledge levels and types. And all of these things indicate that the learning path can't be in a curriculum document. It has to come from the person themselves. It has to be tailored to them, and they have to be in the driving seat. Their hopes, their dreams, their desires, their past, their future, all of these things are unique and particular to them. And that has to be taken into account. Construction is lots of different things. It's apprenticeship. It's that type of learning by watching somebody else doing something that you get in a collaborative environment. It's many other things besides. Apprenticeship has that whole learning by doing experience, so it's very hands-on. You learn by making the thing that you want to learn about. If you want to learn about mechanics, then you have to get your hands dirty by building a car or by fixing problems. If you want to learn to cook food, then you follow recipes and you cook food. It's focused on childhood development. Jean Piaget's ideas about how children learn through experimentation is really key to Constructionism. Experimentation, success, failure, and how that changes how you think about the world is a key part to Constructionism. And that means people have to be hands-on. They have to experiment and succeed and fail themselves. It's tied into Constructivism, which is an older theory from Jeremy Bruner and John Dewey and lots of other people, which is very learner-focused and very focused on the idea that people construct their own learning themselves. They construct their own meaning of the world themselves. It's internal, not transmitted. It's got a lot to do with social learning, so it's collaborative. It's people working together. It's people arguing and sharing and negotiating, and this is a huge part of it. It's people learning from other people and teaching other people. And it's tied very strongly into 3 schools of teaching: discovery learning, problem-based learning, and inquiry learning, which all focus on the individual. At its heart, it's this: make what you want to create and invent, and you'll discover how to use the tools you need along the way. Decide on the thing that you want to create, decide on what you want to learn, and as a student, if that's important enough for you and you're supported, you'll discover how to do the thing that you want to learn in the process of doing it. Discovery learning, and problem-based learning, and inquiry learning all focus on that thing and that idea. That learning is self-driven, that you decide what you want to learn. And if your desire is strong enough and you have support, you'll learn how to do that along the way. that about wraps up my brief presentation on constructionism. There are more resources, links and ideas and lesson plans in the description below. Please have a look at the description and you'll find more detailed information about constructionism. Thanks for watching, and I hope it was helpful.